All right, cyber professionals, we are here, your panel talking about honing your career. My name is Deidre Diamond. I'm the founder and CEO of CyberSN and BrainBabe Not-for-Profit. I am here with 4 other cyber professionals, and I'm going to let introduce themselves. And before I do, I want to tell you briefly why we wanted to create this panel. We wanted to create this panel because all of us have unique stories of how we got into cyber, and we need more cyber professionals. So we really want to put a call out to everybody sharing the stories of different types of roles that exist in the industry. And we also want to speak about happiness in the workforce. And I really want to ask our panel questions around this, because I've selected this panel based on the fact that I know that these folks like/love their jobs, and none of them have settled, and they've really owned their careers being where they're at. And to me, that's the name of the game, because this is a zero unemployment rate industry, and nobody ought to be settling or being in a place that they're not happy. And so I think we all share that. I know we all share that. And so let's get into the stories and the wisdom and have some fun here. We're all at our home offices, so you can see where we work when we're at home. It is 8 o'clock on the East Coast, or 8:30, so you get to see us at night. And we're happy to be here. So on that note, I am going to ask Frank to start and introduce himself and tell us about his story of owning his career.
Thanks, Deirdre. I really appreciate that. So my name is Frank Angelelli. I'm the Director of Security Operations at Dun & Bradstreet. To talk about how I got into cyber, I started enjoying computers when I was very young. I taught myself how to program on a Commodore C64. I'm dating myself, I know, but I just enjoyed it. It was what I loved to do. And later on, as I got into my adult life, I was a sociology major with a minor in business law, but I really was passionate about computers. One day I got a virus on my computer. And this is how the whole story started. My attitude was, how dare you run software on my computer system? And I wanted to know, how did you do that? And I wanted to make sure that you never did that again. And so I just delved right into the subject. It was something I was passionate about. I read, I studied, I played, and that continued as I ultimately got a career working on computers and networking. And then I knew I wanted to move into a different direction. I wanted to move into security, so I just started studying and playing, reading up as much as I could, and I set up labs. And ultimately, that got to the point where I had a rack in my basement. And I started interviewing at large companies, and they were hiring me immediately. The second they interviewed me, just because I enjoyed it, I was passionate about it. So ultimately, that just cultivated into a career where I landed at the position I'm at right now. How is that, Dave?
I love it. I love it. I love it. So the sociologist degree I find fascinating, and I want everybody to understand that there's a lot of people in cyber that have degrees that aren't engineering degrees. There's 3 of us on this panel, and tons of us in the industry. And I think that people think you have to have an engineering degree or a computer science degree, and so let's spread the word that you don't. In fact, this is such a business about human behavior that who would have known that sociology was, I think, one of the sweet spots for this business. So thank you for that story. What a great story! I love it. Latal, share with us next, please.
So I also came from completely different career tracks. Started my career at Procter & Gamble, doing 12 years of different branding and communication and marketing roles. Did it in Israel, I moved to the U.S., and with the move to the U.S., I felt like it's time for a change, not only in my location, but also it was time to switch gears. And what I love most about working in consumer goods is the impact that I had on people's lives. I could make something, be part of something, and see how people consume it, people buy it, they can see it in the shop. And I was looking for a career change into a place that will have similar impact. Well, my husband is in technology, and he advocated for me to move into security. He said, there is no other career track these days that affects the life of everyone. You don't understand it, but everything is digital. Everything in the future will be affected by cybersecurity. and this is the place to be. And this is the shift I did. I moved to a wonderful company called Rapid7, and nowadays I'm with Cyber Reason. And I really see how cybersecurity really affects the life of people. When I did the switch, I don't think that people understood why I'm doing it and where I'm going. But I think everyone that reads the news these days feels and understands how critical cyber is for our lives. So I'm really proud that I made it. I'm so glad about my husband convincing me to do it.
That's awesome. Absolutely. I really wanted Lital on this panel because my Brain Babe, platform is all about spreading the word that there's more jobs in cyber than just technology, and there's a ton of women out there that have no idea, and we need women because we only have 10% and leadership's only 1%. And so Lital, being a leader at Cyber Reason, in marketing and doing the type of work that she's doing, that company is on fire and has been for a very long time, really shows that there's a lot of opportunity, and we need to spread the word, everybody out in the community, that there's non-technical cyber roles that are very special and needed. We all can't do it without each other. So thank you. Thank you. Kyle, please tell us about yourself.
Absolutely. My name is Kyle Kennedy, and currently I'm the CISO of CyberSN, but also the newly appointed president of Brain Babe. And, a little bit about my story is very similar to Frank. I'm a sociologist at heart. I've kind of summed it up as a sociologist at heart, a security expert by trade, a reformed telephone freaker, and hacker turned social engineering expert. And why I'd say telephone hacker is where my interest came about was as a kid, just like Frank, where I'm coding on a Commodore 64, storing my programs on tape cassette. So again, I'm kind of dating myself as well. And then decided, not only do I want to understand how to create a program and how to understand how these programs operate, very similar to our viruses, I wanted to understand, let's say graphic like an Atari 2600, and how can I change the game in the system and hack the cartridge? So I started doing a little bit of that, kind of understanding how to hack that, and then that translated into putting games up into bulletin board systems or BBS systems, and that's when telephone phreaking came about, where you can backdoor into companies and things of that nature. And so that natural curiosity, I think, is really what spawned my interest in also to get a degree in sociology, but then a degree, get a master's degree, and then get an MBA, and then get a master's degree in Homeland Security, is to understand, why do people do what they do? And what I've started to understand is that it really is about how the mind and the heart play such a critical role in motivating an individual to do good or do bad. So when people are unhappy, they start to lash out and find different ways to react against that happiness, against that anger, if you will, and try to make themselves happy. And so, that exploration, that desire, that curiosity has helped me even to this day to continue to drive and help me own my own career, from whether it be working at a Fortune 100, Fortune 500s, to consulting across the world, to talking about social engineering, consulting with government agencies. It really is about that curiosity, and that's what keeps me day to day, interested in continuing to learn.
Totally. I love it. Kyle and I met 2 years ago, and he has daughters. He's got 3 young daughters, and he's got a passion for solving, how do we get more women into cyber? And so, like all of us, with our passion of loving our careers, it just shows that we can do all kinds of different things. Meaning we can change the path. The path isn't this straight analyst to CISO and then it's over. There's all kinds of different things in between and after. And so what the heck is telephone phreaking, though? I don't even know what that is.
So
what is it?
Telephone phreaking is essentially taking over a telecom system and then being able to utilize that system to make phone calls or to do whatever you want to do. So when I was a kid, I never played for long distance phone calls. So I would call my friends, in different states. I'd call, family members across the globe. And, my parents then kind of caught on to that and said, how come we're not paying, for calls to Greece and to Ireland? And I'm like, don't worry about it.
Telephone phreaking. I've never heard of it. Learn something new every day. I like that. Dom, tell us about yourself, please.
Thanks, Deidre. And Kyle, it's interesting to hear freaking in 2600. Those are old terms. So when Deidre asked me to do this panel and the subsequent talking, I was part of a company called Concurrent Technologies Corporation. As I serve as their CISO as well as a senior cybersecurity research engineer. Since that time, in the past 2 weeks, I've joined CyberSN as their chief security strategist. So I'll share my experiences with Concurrent Technologies through this, just because I've not been with CyberSN long enough to have any type of lineage and story. But my background's a little different. I'm a computer science major. I was one of those kids growing up that has genuine curiosity. If there's a light switch, I have to turn it on to see what it does. I'm the type that tears it apart to understand how it works. I was introduced to computers in 6th grade. Wrote my first program by the time I was in 8th grade. By the time, before I graduated high school, I was able to write in Pascal, Fortran, a little bit of C, and was introduced to the concept of cyber, not directly, but indirectly through a game called Wings of Fury. It was an airplane game that had cheat codes. And a friend showed me that there were cheat codes. And at that point is when I realized that software is bendable, breakable, and the rules really don't matter. And I just have, much like Cal, a genuine curiosity and a bit of defiance in me. And I had a great computer science teacher in high school that guided my career from maybe debauchery and crime into something creative and smart. I carried that into college, and sure, I did some mischievous things in college. Once I learned the internet, once I learned IRC, was introduced to Sun OS as my first operating system. I'm a Unix guy. I didn't see Windows until the early 90s, believe it or not. So I carried the little bit of mischievous, attacking type nature into my first job at a university, and then eventually moved to Concurrent Technologies as a security engineer at the time, working for small government contracts, and I've blossomed since then. I've largely spent half my career on the attacking side. Then 9/11 occurred. I shifted my focus to attack warning and sensing, and more on the post-mortem portions of attack, and gradually moved into a leadership role, and just shared experiences, both technically and wisdom as I've grown. And I'm really proud to say that I literally get paid doing what I love. I feel like a professional athlete. This is not my job, it's my profession. It's what I do when I'm at home. It's what I do when the lights come on. It's what I think about when the lights are off. It's cliches, but there's a lot of truth that resonates with that. And the original question was a little story on how you feel like you hone your career. So all those things I've been doing, I was very good at. I was a very successful attacker, a pretty good defender, lived through the APT years. But the time that I feel I honed my career was when I learned how to communicate to the people that I report to and the people that work with me. I'm very, very good at algorithmic operations, very good at tactical decisions. I'm very good with math. But I was not good at communicating either a problem, a failure and deadline, or even just successes and failures. Really, there's the metrics part of the job. And the day that, I can't name the day, but the time that I realized it was when I just said, this is a small social engineering exercise every time you talk to someone. You have to convince them that what you're saying is very believable. And when I turned that on its side and started treating it like an exercise is when I really learned that I have control of my career, and that's really what I feel I've honed my career. Communication over programming, believe it or not.
That is, I know, a tough one for you to say. And for a lot of engineers to say, and however, it is sort of the era that we're in, the realization has come to light that it's really not one or the other. We all must have both. And in fact, the communication skills trump the tech skills from the perspective of money and leadership advancement. which again is not for everybody. However, if one wants it, it does come down to the communication skills more than the technical skills. And so I think that's a great transition, Dom. I really appreciate that because again, this whole panel really loves their career and has enjoyed it, which means they've had to have taken on those communication conversations. And so what I'd really like to hear from each of you is, what are the important skills of an information security, professional today? Because our audience here is 400,000 plus information security members to listening to our panel, what do we want to tell them is the most important skills, even if we're going to say communication skills, what about them? Or any skill. Let's get as detailed as we can. And why don't we start with Latal? Why don't you talk to us about what you see as while you're out there working every day as the skill that needs to be in the info security community the most?
I think it's all about, in this industry, is the passion for learning. Never be complacent and think that you know it. It's one of these places when things change every day. It's the threat landscape. It's the people that we work with. It's the need to change and learn how to communicate with the C-suite. It's the ability to be able to acquire new skills, to learn new capabilities. It's these things that somebody that doesn't want to stay a student for life, I think should pursue a career in this industry, for sure. There is no year that things don't change. I think the way the industry will look 5 years from now is completely different than what we see today. And people that love learning and love a place that is changing consistently should be in this industry. So that's the one thing. It's like, be ready to change, be ready to evolve, be ready to upgrade yourself and learn.
I love that. Who wants to go next and add?
So I'll go, Deirdre. I think it depends on where you want yourself to go. It really has to do with you and your own ambitions. You can do very well in this industry as an analyst or an engineer, getting a really deep level of knowledge in your specific area. If you want to go higher, having broader knowledge really does help. You don't have to understand necessarily every single subject deeply. And then when you start talking about the soft skills that really make success, it's very much about recognizing that when you're in a room with other people, you may learn something from them. And that's a wonderful thing. They may be an expert in another area, and you want to let them speak and listen. And having an understanding of them before seeking to be understood. Right? So it's basic communication skills. And understanding from a skills perspective the difference between an audience that's interested in the depth and an audience that's interested in the high-level overview. Those kinds of things will help you progress if you're looking to get to the higher levels in leadership. So those are the kinds of skills that I really look for, as well as that listening skill, that understanding of somebody is telling me something new, something interesting. And I would agree with a lot of the comments here. Being a passionate learner, constantly looking to evolve yourself and recognizing where you can grow, really, I think is a fantastic skill to have.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. The landscape changes so much, like Latal said, we have to be people that want to live and eat and breathe this. Like Dom said, all of us share that. This is on our minds all the time. It's a part of society even. It's sort of, can't even turn on the TV and not think about what we do. That being said, Frank, you hit a hot button for me because the soft skills that you and I call basic because we grew up as sociologists and family members that led by example in communication, and certainly for myself, I've been through a lot of training and business training. The community of cyber professionals does not have that, and I actually think it's the number one thing that people are struggling with today. And so I really just want to put a shout out there to say that the cavalry's coming, because the BrainBait platform is absolutely kicking off, soft skills training for the cyber professionals, such that we can eliminate this as being a problem. And we're talking to institutes like ISC Squared and SANS to validate and make this real within their training programs too. So the cavalry's on its way, because unfortunately, most people don't know how to have what you were describing, which is a win-win conversation. How do you have a conversation that goes well every time? It's an art, and especially in fast-moving threat landscape, and a lack of willingness to throw money at things. So I love that. I love. Yes.
Just one comment on that. I think the platform is really exciting, what you're building out, because a lot of people don't know that. They don't know it's out there, but they want the resources and they don't know where they are. And so collecting those, I think, is really important.
I know. I'm so excited, and you all will see invites, and the world will see the press and join, and let's do it, because the bottom line is, as well as, we all love our jobs on this panel, it's not easy to find somebody in cyber that does today. And that's a problem. They love things that they do, parts of their job. But are they overall happy? No. And that's I see it as, having the largest staffing firm in the industry. I see it every day. Makes me sad. I don't want to see it anymore. So that's where this is all coming from. Dom, were you going to say something?
No, I agree with what everyone said to this point. I would also add, to be successful today in any cyber position, I still think you need the power to automate. So being fluent in some scripting language, whether it's Ruby, Python, Perl, some scripting language that helps you automate your day. Because everything is at the speed of compromise, speed of detection, speed of protection. It's that simple process. So automation is key, and having the fundamental tools to get that done does make you successful. From the softer side, I really think people's attitudes and understanding the difference between confidence and arrogance. It's very, very easy to become arrogant when you're on a red team, and I think young guys do walk with confidence but spew arrogance. They don't understand that a cross-site script is not the end of the world, but they did find it's their first one. Being able to communicate without the arrogance but with confidence to all levels, both peers and to executives. So automation and confidence versus arrogance.
Love that. On the automation, does HTML apply in your world?
No.
Damn it. Sales and marketing, it does. You're doing great.
Thank you. You're making me blush. Stay with me, please.
Absolutely. No, I agree with all the comments today and so far, and I think skills to me that are important both today and in the future, I think really revolve around a common theme that we said, passion for learning, but I think also a teacher's disposition is a key component, because as a cybersecurity professional, you're engaged in threat landscapes, threat scenarios that really sound like they come from movies. They come from outer space, and you really have to be able to contextualize that to someone that doesn't have that background that you're talking to, that's in leadership. And so that's where I think strong research and writing instincts are important as well, because you don't always get the opportunity to have a conversation. We're all thrown up in emails or Twitters and things of that nature, so we need to be able to not only research what we're talking about and be able to convey that research in an effective manner to your audience. And I think people skills really comes into play as well, because those opportunities that you get when you walk around the office and you're not in the throes of a red team situation or an incident situation, you're going to come across different people, and you want to be able to interact with them as a human, as a person, and understand that they're in a role and understand that they've got a job to do. And that's where I think business acumen comes in, because as a cyber professional, you need to understand all areas of the business. As Tal mentioned, and Dom and Frank, cyber's everywhere. So everything that we do now in a business has a touch point to cyber, whether it's transportation logistics, whether it's communication logistics, whatever it is, there's a component that is cyber and security centric. So understanding how the business operates gives you the opportunity to understand what's normal versus abnormal. And one of the big things that attackers look for is intelligence about the organization. And they strive to get intelligence in an organization. But we as cyber professionals working in the organization, we can talk to anybody and gain that intelligence to help us protect the organization. And I think that's really where the concept of thinking like a hacker comes in, or having hack sense is important, because we may talk about 3 or 4 low-level vulnerabilities, but when you can put those vulnerabilities together, that could be the secret sauce to get into an organization.
That's right.
So I think it's that curiosity and that ability to build on your communication skills, and listening is important as well.
Yeah. All right. So key takeaways from this question, because there's definitely YouTube out there where people could find training. The technical skills matter. The communication skills matter. Get the training, even if it's YouTube. Don't wait for Brain Aid. Find stuff. And the idea of owning your career is owning both of those.
Yeah. And Dave, I would add one more item too, is have an elevator pitch. You know, it doesn't matter what area you are in the organization. I mean, you could be a SOC analyst, and that's fantastic, but have that elevator pitch when you have an opportunity to speak with somebody, because that person that isn't in on the security operations center team, they may be in the business, or they may be in marketing or sales. They don't know what you do. So what's the value proposition that you're doing for that organization? That's the key. Show value.
Yeah.
You can articulate that.
So on that note, because that's a bit of coaching, Kyle, I would love for the 3 men on the panel to answer this question, only because you are the true InfoSec security professionals. You're all executives within InfoSec. You all have 20 to 22 years of experience. And so I wonder, did you have a mentor? Do you have a mentor today? Did you have a mentor in the past? And if so, how did you use your mentor? What was that relationship like? Because I want to tell everybody to get a mentor, and so I'd love to hear your experiences with that. Don, why don't we start with you? Do you have a mentor now? Did you have one in the past?
Yeah, I've had 2. In high school, Dr. Karwoski, who introduced me and set me on the right path, who said, program creatively and constructively, don't be destructive, guided me through the early part of academics, and then professionally. I have a gentleman that's very dear to me as a mentor and as a person. That was a CTO at Concurrent Technologies. His name is Frank. And our relationship was very, very rocky. He was very demanding in the terms of precision and accuracy and timing and work ethic. Even penmanship mattered to him. And at the time, I just thought he was a tyrant. But as I matured, and I think he matured as well, the mentorship became more apparent. It was him driving me in a manner because he saw something special in a snotty kid that said, I'm going to be rough on you and tell you things that are harsh, like, give me your badge, you're going home at the end of the day, this is awful work. It's pedestrian. Although those sound like very harsh terms in those quotes, put them in context, and the work probably wasn't as good as what it should have been, or and timely as it could have been. But most importantly, Frank took me from a very technical, nose on a terminal, hands on a keyboard, to learn how to communicate it in terms that I can understand as the CTO, and the person beside you at the terminal can understand and learn from you. And that relationship continued today. I mean, I still call him with technical and non-technical questions. I mean, he's a guy that I can confide in. And he was a guy that he confided in me the day that he was retiring. He let me read his announcement to the company that he was retiring. That was a really special day. But Frank really drove me technically, well-rounded me in communication, both written and verbal, and gave me a kick in the pants when I probably thought, I was probably more on that arrogant line than I was on the confident line. And, those were his words to me, a long, long time ago. Learn the difference between arrogance and confidence, and you'll continue to move. So very happy that I had mentors, 2 of them, and I still in touch with them every day.
And it almost sounds like luck, right?
Yeah.
Meaning you didn't seek them out. If you happen to go to work for somebody, and because I know your story, I think you worked for him for at least 15, 16 years before you retired. And he took you on, and it's much like myself. I walked into 2 serial entrepreneurs that I did 3 companies for 20 years that were my mentors. And again, I feel lucky, to have found them. So I want to say to everybody, you might hear a lot of luck here that we just, people came to us to be a mentee of theirs. However, I know I wouldn't be where I am today with all that guidance. So even if you hear luck through here, go get a mentor if you don't have one. So,
I guess the takeaway I would leave with you is that biting your lip when your mentor's kind of helping you through the tough times is very valuable, because sometimes the kick in the pants is noted and deserved, and 10 years later you understand it better. And it's not always fun, for sure.
Yeah, tough love. I'm all about it. Transparency. We can't work, we can't grow, we can't learn if people aren't truthful. That's for sure. And to me, that's what tough love is. Frank, what about you? Do you have a mentor? Did you have one before?
Yeah, so I've had several mentors throughout my career that were knowingly mentors to me, and I had a great relationship with them. And then I also had a number of mentors that they didn't recognize they were mentors. What I mean by that takes the luck out of it.
Yeah.
There were some leaders that I was able to observe. So for me, it was through being a volunteer fireman and EMT. And I was able to observe how the truly respected leaders, the trusted leaders, would behave. And you can pick up positive behaviors from them and incorporate them. Yeah, I like the way that he handled that. And then throughout my career, I generally have had several guiding people that have been willing to pull me aside. And they recognize, to Dom's point, when you're not arrogant, when you're an open-minded person, a helping person, sound principles, trying to do the right thing, usually you'll attract someone to you at some point in time that will recognize that behavior. And they'll just, all of a sudden, just a piece of advice and reacting in a very positive light to that, and not and incorporating those lessons that they give you can grow that relationship. And so I've got 2 mentors right now, one of whom generally speaks with me and shares stories which he knows are covering areas that are good for development, and the other one that has direct relationships with me who I can find very closely with. And one of them is my former boss, who ended up leaving the company, is also a mentor. I'll call him up and say, can I bounce this off of you? Let me get your thoughts on this. What do you think? And having those is really important, because ultimately, to move forward, you're going to need a sounding board at some point in time. So having the right kinds of attitudes and the right kind of passion for the subject will get you recognized by somebody. And in the meantime, you can look for those leadership behaviors of people around you and incorporate that into your behavior. It will grow you.
I love that. That's right. Look for leaders that we admire and mimic their traits. It doesn't have to be a one-on-one relationship to get mentorship. I love that you said that. And also that you have so many. I love hearing that story to you. So awesome. Kyle, what about you? Do you have any from the past and now?
Absolutely. It's similar to Dom and to Frank. Throughout my career, I've had the opportunity to have some fantastic mentors, both at the collegiate level when I was in college, professors that saw that there was more in the work that I could do, even though I didn't see it, because my goal was about completing the checkbox or completing the activity. And they could see that, you can expand that a little bit more, especially in doing sociology analysis and doing surveys and doing investigations around drug abuse and the Boston school systems, et cetera, that, I looked due to my youth, I looked to cut some corners, and Professor Bowser was one of those individuals that took me to task. And I remember distinctly handing in a 25-page research paper and getting a response back from him that was an F with only 2 pages that actually was good. So that was kind of like a wake-up call that said, oh, maybe I can put a little bit more effort into that. And I think, as we've all said, it's that understanding that no one knows everything. And I think that's so important, is that it's anybody and everybody that you come across, there's an opportunity to learn from them. And I see that all the time, especially with one of the things that I do on the side is I teach women's lacrosse. So I teach women's high school lacrosse, and I have a lot of mentors that are females that are Division I or Division II coaches, and I learn from them. But the first time that I was introduced to any of them, they said, "Why are you here? You never played women's lacrosse." So it was a welcoming, but at the same time, it was also a statement being made that said, shut up, you haven't played. So listen to us because we have played, right? And I think, that was very straight and direct by them. But it's a key point, though, is that you want to be able to listen. And I think, as you may work for somebody that is a boss that you may not think is a mentor, but at the end of the day, they really are a mentor. And you can learn from everybody. That mentor could be good, a mentor could be bad. And so you can learn important traits where that, I don't really like the way that somebody did that. That's a learning experience. So put that in the bank, and use that and make sure that you don't mimic that behavior, right? Because that's a learning opportunity as well.
That's right. That's right. And for those that are that are listening to us that are in leadership roles, to really care to take people on, there wasn't anybody that said that somebody didn't take them on, or multiple somebodies. And silly me, I'm thinking you guys are going to talk all tech, this story of somebody that took you into a room and sat you down and handcuffed the computer and stuff. So I'm like, let's start with that. Silly me, sometimes I forget that it all is sociology.
Yeah. I should add one point is a couple of the mentors that I've had have also been women, so and men. So just because somebody is a different nationality, different race, whatever the case may be, you can learn from everybody. So I think that's important. And some of the mentors that have been women, I've learned a lot of how to think about an approach that's different, or to maybe listen a little bit longer and let that story trail out a little bit more, because you'll get more details with that. So I think that's important as well.
Absolutely. Not because you work for me.
No.
Just kidding.
Well, you are one of my mentors as well.
So I love that fun with you. Latal.
I just want to say that it's not only that you learn from your mentors. I find it very, very interesting the amount of things that I learn from people that I mentor. So especially young female in the workforce that just joined the company, I learned from them so much. From social media tricks that I didn't know that exist, and I learned, being digital natives and millennials teach you so much. I gained so much visibility into things that I would have thought of. Just interacting with younger people. So I really like the fact that even when you become a mentor of others, you get to learn so much. So it goes both ways.
That's right.
Great point.
That is.
Yeah.
And it's very important as well. For as much as you get that mentorship, it's important then to give it too. And that's an inherently generous attitude that comes through it. And this stuff comes full circle. Just because I can help that person move them into a better position, do it. Yeah. Right? And you may not get that back from them, but it'll come from a different direction. And all of that, I think, is very positive energy that'll help.
Yeah. I think that's a great way to wrap, Frank, because we're running out of time in that we all work in teams. team, we can't do anything alone. Those days don't even exist anymore whatsoever. And so if we don't take people on, well, our careers are just going to be struggling then, because how do we build teams? When you're in a leadership role, you're building teams. And as somebody that's in the staffing business of cyber these days, I can tell you that teams go together too. You know, I mean, teams matter. And I've never seen it matter more than in cyber, truthfully, which is, again, why these soft skills I'm out there wanting to help, because I see so much breakdown. But for those leaders that really want to rock their careers and own their careers, it's about caring about the people that work for you, because that's truly where our happiness comes from. I personally know everybody here on this panel loves being a mentor to the people they work with every day. And being a good mentor is listening and learning from the folks that work with us. And so I think that takeaway is exactly how I'd love to end this. I'm really thankful for all of your time. I'd love to do this more regularly, and I think we can. This was a lovely experience, and I think it will be content that people will love. So thank you very much, all of you, for your time.
Thanks for moderating, Deidre.
Thanks.
You too.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Have a great night, everybody. I'll see you soon.
Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's a